The Revere Licensing Commission will now open the show cause hearing for Tequila Eucalypto Corp. doing business as Tequila Eucalypto Mexican Restaurant, 107 Shirley Avenue. Raul Santos, manager, concerning multiple police reports of instances of serving intoxicated persons, fights, disturbing the peace, serving alcoholic beverages past legal closing hours, and service to a person under 21. In opening this up, what I'd like to do is have the police department comment on the offenses, and then we'll hear from Tequila Eucalypto. Lieutenant Randall.
Okay, on March 8th, the Revere Police Department responded to a disturbance, some sort of fight inside the establishment. One of the parties involved in the altercation identified herself as a 16-year-old who had been drinking in the establishment, was fighting with one of the employees. There will be a hearing set up for the assault on that. A report was written by Officer Romero, and it noted in the report multiple infractions that the shifts have noticed over the last couple of months. Seems to be a trend with this bar. Sergeant Carey from the night shift is here tonight, and she has responded to more than one of these events, and I believe she can comment on some of them, shed some light.
All right, thank you. Sergeant Carey, would you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Sergeant Patricia Carey.
Revere Police Department. Thank you. Could you give us some history on some of the responses that you've made to the restaurant?
One of the responses occurred on 2/15 of this year.
Is that on? Oh,
on 2/15 of this year, I was on patrol, and I went by the bar at approximately 2:05 a.m. The grates had been pulled down, however, I could see through the door and there were people still inside. I entered the establishment after contacting the controllers to my location. Entered the bar, there was approximately 20 to 30 people. There were still drinks on the table, drinks in people's hands, full beers, half beers, mixed drinks. At that time, security officer noticed me. He started trying to get people out. People were trying to pay their tabs. One gentleman on that particular night had to be helped out of the establishment. It appeared that he had been overserved. His friends indicated to me that they were going to get him home. The next time I responded there, I did do a few directed patrols after that to make sure they were in compliance. Those dates have been noted in numerous log entries. Next time I was there, it was on 3/1. We were, myself, Lieutenant Callahan, and Officer McCaskill responded to a disturbance call about an unruly patron. That particular call ended up in an arrest. I had worked overtime on 3/2, and I responded there an hour and a half later for another unruly patron, which also ended up in an arrest. And then finally I did respond to this final call because I worked another overtime shift, and I was there for that also.
So you've responded to three responses, or was it multiple just beyond that?
Other than my directed patrols and the night of the 14th into the 15th, I responded there for particular calls, yes.
Thanks. Any questions?
I usually take that one. Read the next one.
Yeah, so Sergeant Carey, do you have a copy of your report?
Yes, I have copies of all the reports.
Would you read that 215 report into the record, please?
Yes. On 2/15/14 at approximately 2:05 a.m., Sergeant Carey was on Shirley Avenue checking bars for 2 a.m. closing compliance. As this officer drove past Taqueria Eucalypto, located at 107 Shirley Ave, numerous patrons could be seen in the establishment through the glass entry door. I notified Revere Dispatch of the situation and proceeded into the establishment. Once inside, I observed 20 to 30 patrons seated at the bar and at tables with full and partially consumed beers on the bar and tables and in patrons' hands. My arrival was noted by the security guard, who began to tell the crowd to leave. The patrons were slow in leaving, as many of them were trying to consume their alcoholic beverages as quickly as possible prior to leaving. I announced that all drinking must stop and that all consumed beverages needed to be placed on the bar or taken by Taqueria Eucalypto staff. Security guard and waitstaff began to remove the beverages from the tables and bar. As the patrons began to leave, I noted that one of the patrons appeared to be highly intoxicated. This male patron needed assistance from his friends to walk out of the bar. His friends did state to me that they were bringing him home. Once all the patrons had exited the establishment, I advised the staff that they were in violation of the 2 a.m. closing time. Sandra Sanchez, who was the manager for the night, apologized and stated that they shut the music off at 1:30 a.m. Ms. Sanchez noted that the staff were trying to have the patrons settle their bills, but they were slow in paying. I advised Ms. Sanchez that all alcohol must be off the bars and tables by 2 a.m. and that there were many patrons with full beers in their hands after the 2 a.m. closing. Ms. Sanchez was also advised that the intoxicated patron who needed help leaving should have been refused service, as it was apparent that he was highly intoxicated. Ms. Sanchez apologized again. She was advised that there would be a report forwarded to the License Commission for review and possible follow-up, and also to Lieutenant Randall.
Great, thank you. Senator Randall, do you want to read Officer Romero's report?
On Saturday, March 8, 2014, I was working and assigned to the 103 sector of the city. While on patrol, I was dispatched to 107 Shirley Ave, Taqueria, Mexican, for a report of an assault. Revere Dispatch stated that a female was assaulted and she was inside the bathroom and would not come out. I responded and was able to locate a female inside the bathroom with lacerations on her face. She stated she had been assaulted by a female wearing a white skirt inside the bar. The female in the bathroom identified herself as Yuri Landverdi. She was highly intoxicated and had trouble communicating. Yuri was also unsteady on her feet, had slurred speech, and trouble standing straight. I asked Yuri for her driver's license or any form of ID, and she stated that she was only 16 and did not have ID. I informed her that she could not consume alcohol and should not be at the bar. Yuri stated that she was never carded and began drinking when she entered the bar. I then attempted to locate the other female party involved. I was able to find a female with a white skirt behind the bar serving drinks. She appeared to be an employee of the bar. I noticed this female had red marks on her neck and chest. The female identified herself as Norma Villanard. She stated that while working the bar, she was serving Yuri sitting at the bar. Yuri had been heavily drinking and began to make a mess at the bar. Norma then went over to Yuri and attempted to clean up the mess. She also told Yuri that she was cut off from drinking. Yuri then became agitated and reached over the bar and pulled Norma's hair. Both females then began to fight at the bar. Other employees and bartender assisted in separating both parties from each other. The security guard at the bar then became involved and pulled Yuri from Norma. Yuri was still holding a handful of hair in her hand. Yuri then went into the bathroom where she made the call to police. The bar during this time was very busy and there were a lot of people in the bar. People were still being served despite the approximate time of 1:40 a.m. It should be noted that when I began to question the security guard as to why Yuri was served, he stated that he was instructed not to card anyone by the owner of the bar. Revere police have been receiving a lot of activity from this bar in recent months. There has been a large amount of people being overserved and fights in front of the bar. He refers to case numbers in March, February, and December. Following the above incident, I spoke to the manager, Sandra Sanchez, who stated that Yuri had made statements about trying to cause trouble inside the bar. She also stated that Yuri wants to have the bar shut down. Sandra also stated that she was a witness to the fight and witnessed both girls fighting each other by the bar. I spoke to the owner of the bar, Raul Santos, who stated that he has had trouble in the past with Yuri and that she had become agitated and hostile toward employees of the bar. He also stated that she wanted to have the bar shut down. Raul stated there are several cameras inside the bar and that they recorded the entire incident. Raul stated that he will attempt to recover footage and bring it to the police station. Yuri will be summoned for assault and battery, and Norma will also be summoned as being the victim. Respectfully submitted, Officer George Romero.
Thank you. Just for the record, I'm not going to go through case numbers, but on 3-2, arrests made for disorderly conduct, threats disturbing the peace. On 3-1, arrests made for disorderly conduct disturbing the peace. Also on 3-1, directed patrol, keep the peace. 223, directed patrol, keep the peace. 215, patrons still inside at 206 being served. Patrons continue drinking. 209, February 9th, directed patrol, keep the peace. 2-8, disturbance, 2 Hispanic males. Drinking, starting problems outside. Oh, drunk, I guess. 229-13, unwanted person, female drunk, sent on her way. 1221, disturbance, fight, 2 males fighting in the middle of the street with one with no shirt.
Quick question, are these the same establishments? It's Eucalypto in Mexican, Tequila, is that just a different, same thing, just different names?
Yep.
Okay.
Great. Could we now have representation from Tequila Mexican Restaurant, please? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, Attorney Dan Buckley from D'Ambrosio Brown, 14 Proctor Avenue, on behalf of Taqueria Eucalypto Mexican Restaurant, 107 Shirley Avenue. I appreciate the Commission making time this morning to address some of these issues. There were a number of incidents brought before this Commission this morning. I can assume that in order of severity, the first would be the allegation that there's a 16-year-old consuming alcohol on the premises, so I'd like to address that first. I do have here Raul Santos, the owner and manager of record of Taqueria Eucalypto, as well as his wife and the supervisor and bartender, Sandra Sanchez here, which was identified in the report. And I can certainly provide you some information if there are any questions regarding any of the allegations. They can certainly answer those as well. The individual that was identified as a woman named Yuri, who claimed to be 16 years old, was in fact an employee for the week preceding the incident. At the time of hiring this woman named Yuri, an identification card was obtained from her. May I approach?
Yes.
Sure,
Do you have a
absolutely.
copy of that? Oh, great.
Thank you.
As part of the hiring process, the identification card was obtained from this Yuri, and my understanding that she worked at the premises as a waitress for approximately a week before this incident occurred. As the incident report reads, this woman was the aggravator involved in this issue, and it's my understanding she's being summoned for assault and battery. And another employee, Norma, was the victim in this case. I can have Ms. Sanchez or Mr. Santos explain, or at least testify to what she's been telling them, this woman Yuri, about her motivations about these allegations.
Sure, that'd be fine.
Okay. Mr. Santos?
Good morning.
Good morning. So, so give us a little background on this former employee, I would assume. So has she? So have you had other problems with her in the past?
Yeah, like one, it's just one happened. Like I asked her if she asked for ID for one of those customers, and she really pissed off. Like I don't know why. I just asked her, do you ask the ID for that person? And she started screaming all the time. and I don't see why she get money.
So when you hired her, you understood her to be 21?
Yeah, when she talked to my wife about the job and everything, and she asked, how are you and everything, she said, I'm gonna bring a copy from my ID. So she bring to her to that copy for her ID.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
we don't know. We just
Can you tell me, how long was she an employee at your establishment?
for a month.
She was there for a month,
Yeah.
and you didn't have any problems with her at all in that time working at the establishment, other than that one incident?
No. Yes, that one.
Okay, and she left the week before this incident happened?
Yeah.
Okay, but she still was a customer of yours, still coming in?
She left, and she left like 2 weeks ago. A week before the accident happened, she came again for ask for a job. So last week, she worked in one day, and the weekend the accident happened, she worked in that day. So mostly working like a day and a half. So she, at the time when I asked her why, if she asked the ID for that person, she get pissed off and she say, I leave her this place is she say bad words, and she say, I'm leaving. She left the night about
Great.
9:30, something like that.
Okay.
She left. So after like 2 weeks, she come back, asked for job, and son hired her again. And she worked one day, a week before the accident happened. And that night she started working. And what
Well-
time she told you she's not working no more? Around 11, she said, I'm not gonna work no more over here. I don't.
Was she, what position did she work?
Waitress.
She was a waitress. Was she tip trained?
She was.
Tip trained, did she get training for serving alcohol?
No, because she most of the time working with the food. She not.
She didn't serve alcohol at all?
No, she working with the food.
So can you tell me what state she was in what condition she was in when she entered the establishment? That night, the night that you had the disturbance with her, can you tell me what condition she was when she entered the establishment? I mean, was she drunk coming in? Was she sober coming in?
She was sober. She come to work and start working all right.
So how long was she in the bar that night, or the restaurant?
She started that night at 6.
6. Was she working that night? Or she just came in as a customer.
No, she's supposed to work and she started working like 6. After past the hour, she come to her and said, I'm not working no more.
That's at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay. And then at 11, she started drinking at the bar.
I think she not really drinking at the bar. I think she got maybe one at the bar.
So can you explain to me how she was in that intoxicated state if she really only had one drink starting at 11 o'clock?
It's very hard for me to explain that, but what I see with the people, I see different people, the way they drink. Some people, they can drink a lot and they okay. Some people, they have couple drinks and they really change, big difference. So I don't know how much alcohol she drink. Really.
Would the bartender know how many drinks she served?
I think I asked her and she said, I just served one. I don't know if she drink because my employees were they not allowed to drink. They not. the workings they not doing.
Okay. Sergeant Carey, what state was she in when you responded? If you would step up to the mic, please. In your experience, I mean, have you seen you know, a patron with one drink be in the condition that she was in?
No.
Okay, great. And how heavily intoxicated would you say she was?
She was above the legal limit. I believe, anyway. She had strong alcoholic odor about her breath in person. She was very emotional. She had glassy eyes, bloodshot eyes. She was unsteady on her feet. I made sure that Officer Romero took her home to her parents after that. She was not going to be allowed to walk home.
Great, thank you. Counselor.
I'd also like to address one other issue that was in the report that identified with regards to security and checking the IDs. I know it was identified that security stated that he was instructed not to check IDs. We actually have the security member here in the commission room. His name is Jay Miranda. My understanding is, well, this is a restaurant, and that they were not carting at the door throughout the late afternoon and evening, because as it is a restaurant, they would not be required to be 21 to enter the premises and to have a meal. I can explain maybe what their plan of action will be going forward.
Yeah, I mean, so at any time during that evening, at what point does it become a restaurant and turn into a bar where they would card people?
My understanding is the kitchen closes at midnight.
Okay. So
And they currently have one security officer working both the door and inside the premises. It's a relatively small place. It's a 40 capacity on Shirley Avenue, multiple tables with a bar. So I think one of their plans of action, if you'd like me to address that at this point,
sure.
Would be to increase the amount of security. They currently have one, and they would like to increase that to 2 security for a couple reasons. One, so they could have a security personnel at the door at all times starting at 11 o'clock, and then to have the other security to kind of be inside the premises using two-way radios to address a couple issues. That at 11 o'clock, or whatever time the commission may find appropriate, to start carding everyone, where in reality it wouldn't be realistic. People are just coming in to have dinner, but it would be there for the consumption of alcohol. To start carding all the time at a certain period of time, probably 11 o'clock means appropriate, and then have the other security personnel walking to identify if there are any people that seem to be intoxicated. They would be adding the two-way radios so these 2 security personnel can communicate with one another.
A quick question. So sure. At what time does the security officer come on duty?
I get there at
10 o'clock.
At 10?
10 o'clock.
Okay.
And that seems to be, at least practically speaking, a time where dinner is more or less ending. But again, the kitchen's open until 12. In addition to dealing with the security issue, I understand that there was, and correct me if I'm wrong, one incidence of non-compliance with the 2 a.m. I understand that was the one time that they've received or identified this being an issue. The Mexican restaurant has been licensed since 2010, a little under 4 years, and at least my impression from being here, this is really the first time that they've been in front of this commission for these issues. There are a couple other licensed premises in the area, so one of the issues a lot is late in the evening or early morning are people kind of going from one place to another, which is why the increased security personnel can deal with that issue.
Sorry.
No problem. If there's one security in the air, inside the premises, there can be one all the time at the door to kind of identify if there are people that appear to be intoxicated to prevent them from coming in. Secondly, the issue, And I understand that Ms. Sanchez, the owner's wife, explained to the police that the issue was why they were there after 2 o'clock was they were slow in paying bills. Of course, being there after 2 o'clock, that's not an excuse. That's the reason. And I guess as I stand here after speaking with them of how they're going to plan to not have this issue again, and that would be to stop the music at 1:30. What they say is a last call at 1:40, and in addition to have that additional security personnel assist with getting these people out to conform with that 2 o'clock policy. Again, it's a small place, a capacity of 40, so it appears that a 1:40 last call with additional security should ensure that this compliance at 2 a.m. Should not be an issue.
Counsel, our policy is if it's a live band that the band ends at 1. If it's music, DJ 1:30 is fine, but last call is 1:30, and absolute closing is at 2.
That's certainly not an issue.
One of the things that concern me is the amount of heavily intoxicated people. They're either entering the bar intoxicated, which is a problem, or they're either consuming alcohol and leaving there heavily intoxicated. So, I mean, is there any way, can you address that?
Certainly. Looking through the report, I know there were some incidents that referenced people, DK, I believe, that's drinking or drunk in the street. Again, there are a number of licensed premises. I don't know if it was indicated they were coming from this premises, but there are a couple of, at least some of those issues with people on the street. That being said, I do believe the increased security personnel, putting one security officer at the door at all times while another security personnel is inside the premises, can certainly deter any people that may be intoxicated coming from one place to coming to this premises. I do know the bartender standard is tip certified, and any additional bartenders they do hire would be tip certified as well.
Lieutenant Randall, so the 2 a.m., the open past 2 a.m. Was on 2:15. Have there been any other instances where officers or patrol cars have gone by and observed patrons in the restaurant after 2 o'clock?
I haven't seen any reports of that. There have been directed patrols where officers, on their own go by to make sure that they are complying with it. I haven't seen any indication that they haven't complied since then.
Great, thank you.
So Randall, maybe you can clear this up for me, please. I see the driver's license is one name, the arrest is another.
Yes,
There's two different names.
the identification. The copy of the identification provided for the girl Yuri. I wasn't there. I didn't see the girl, but just looking at the photocopy of this card, I don't even know if this is a valid Massachusetts ID. It has some earmarks on it that would tend to be a fake ID. I'd have to look at the actual ID itself to tell, but I don't know if this is the girl in question.
Do you have the ID?
I believe it's just a copy of the ID. And maybe Ms. Sanchez, who could identify if that was the woman, at least in the picture. I don't know if they can say to the validity of the ID, but certainly if that was the woman that was involved.
Yeah, no, it does appear that it's quite possibly if this is a fake ID.
And I'm not sure, I don't think they could say whether it was or not, but they could certainly say if that was the woman that was involved in the incident.
So could you explain why there's two different last names, surnames?
Their understanding is her last name just from the ID. And my understanding is the report is just based on what this woman told the police. There was no form of ID.
Sergeant Carey, quick question for you. When you responded, she didn't give you any ID. She just gave you.
She stated she didn't have an ID with her. Then I asked her how she got served without an ID, and she said they don't card here.
Gotcha. And so she identified herself as Yuri Landaverdi?
I believe she gave me her date of birth, And she stated where she lived and that she was a student at the high school.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Did you see the picture of this ID? Have you seen
I
that?
did. It's grainy. It looks like her. I can't say 100% that that is the same person that I spoke to that night.
And did you state that someone drove her home?
Yes, Officer Romero, I made sure that he took her home and advised her parents of what had gone on.
Do you remember where her home was? Was it in Revere?
It was Campbell Ave.
Okay, because this clearly states she lives in Worcester on this ID.
Again, she didn't present any ID to us, and we were able to take her home and verify that that was where she lived.
Okay, and home was Revere, not Worcester?
Yes, the address on our report is where we took her and where we spoke to her parents.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thoughts, at least.
Okay. Counselor. Oh, sorry. Please step up to the mic.
Can I say something more about the
Sure.
accident with that lady? That night, that lady, I have my woman working the security. She looks like she pretend do something bad to me because we asked her many times, can we bring to her house? And I said, do you want me the security bring to your house? And we tried in many ways to bring her to the house. And she said to me, no, tonight I'm gonna make a problem over here. So I understand because the report said she was in the bathroom, like she feel like I'm security. It's like 4 people over there try to take care of her, like try to she be safe. And she say when she called to the police, she say she feel like I'm secure. That's another. That's not.
So why would you on other occasions want to take her home, drive her home? Was she a problem then, that you said you wanted to drive her home, and she refused?
Please. Please state your name for the record, please.
I saw her. I'm Sandra Sanchez.
Please
Thank you.
speak into the mic.
And I saw her at the bar with a chat. When I saw that, I took it out. I say, Judy, give me that. You cannot drink. You have to go home. And she was angry because I don't let her still drinking. And then she said, Sandra, I'm not working here right now. I can drink. I said, no. Go home, Judy. You're not supposed to drink like that. Give me that chat. And then she went to the bar angry, and she did whatever she did that night.
Great.
It's very hard. I wish she was here because, we're hearing one side of a story, and it makes it very hard. Where she's stating she was 16, she was served, and now you're saying that there were occasions that you did want to drive her home. So I'm just wondering what that was about, why you would want to drive her home. There had to be other incidents with her. And clearly this here doesn't, I can't even use this as any kind of evidence. Different addresses, different names. Police officer drove her home to her parents in Revere. So,
I don't know anything about that.
So, I understand the situation where you had a difficult employee as well as a patron that night. That's kind of, to me, it's isolated. And now that she's no longer an employee, she's probably not going to be a problem there in the future. However, there is a history here of issues in and outside the establishment. My guess is you haven't really kept a log of this stuff. my guess is you haven't, until now, started to address it, which maybe should have been starting addressing in the event of having more security prior to this last incident. You know, the 1:30 closing of the, shutting down the music, the 2 a.m. violation. So you've got a little history here. And yes, you know, this woman, young, you know, that sometimes can be out of your control. But, you know, dating back December 21st, 6 or 7 situations. So me being an owner, if I was in your shoes, I would have started to do something. You know, at least start thinking about it until it didn't kind of blow up on you. So right now, I think you know, starting to address the security issues is definitely the right direction. And I guess it's going to be up to the three of us to see what, you know, how we're going to handle, you know, the bigger picture of, you know, the direction of this establishment. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Maggie, did they get their license after the, I mean, in the fall, right? So you just got it, right? So I think you had ample time to really have your place, you know, kind of in control. Again, fights outside. It seems like you're a magnet for some trouble, and not sure why. It just seems like that's what's going on. So moving forward, I think having some additional security and really, you know, making sure that you shore up your procedures and become more of a operation than just serving, you know, a restaurant. You know, really, I mean, that's just as important as you know, serving food and serving alcohol is having a process and everybody training and making sure that you have, you know, systems in place. Even though you're not a large establishment, but you know, you don't want to come back here because it's, you know, you don't. Okay, so that's my view on the whole picture here. Is, you know, how we're going to deal with it here today, and then moving forward, making sure that you guys are, you know, have a you know, some new procedures in place. Okay.
So, Councilor, can you recap on is there anything that you'd like to add in addition to what we've heard today, and then also what are the measures you're going to be taking? If you could recap the measures you're going to take going forward.
Certainly, and just to add, when you brought up the history of this place, and I certainly understand you're talking about history compared to when they got there, 2 a.m., but if you can look at the broader history, since they've been a licensed premises in 2010, in at least my understanding, the only issues began in December of this year, where really this is the only time that they've been in front of you to address some of these issues. So when you bring up history, even the broader history of being licensed since 2010, I have no issue. Yeah. That being said, they're here to identify these issues and to address them.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt for a second?
Certainly.
So can you tell me, why, just starting in December of 2013, that things started to go a little off kilter and they started having these disturbances? I mean, did something operationally change or?
I don't believe so. I just think that, you know, and this hasn't changed, but there are, I believe, 4 licensed establishments in the area, and what I've been informed of is that people come from one to the other. And as this place has since the 2 a.m., they obtained security personnel because they are a restaurant, right, that they added the security measure. Clearly, what needs to be adjusted is an increase in that security to address the issue of people coming from one licensed premises to the other.
I mean, it appears to me, I mean, I agree with you that some of the incidents took place out in the street, but clearly, I mean, from what I can see here, it looks like 6 took place inside and 3 took place outside. And so for me, it's more operational in how they're going to address, recognizing that, you know, there are other establishments in the area, but I'd like to know about controls, you know, how you identify, you know, a potential patron coming in and coming from another bar already intoxicated. I mean, you know, is the general rule they let them in, or do they
Certainly.
push them away, or not push them away.
And at your request, I would recap, because I did identify
Sure.
some of these issues. One of the issues that were identified in the report are, people being intoxicated in the premises. I think, based on the current situation where they have one security personnel that needs to work both the door and inside, clearly that needs to be changed. Because if they're addressed, the security is addressing the issue on the inside, there's no one at the door, which leaves time for someone to maybe come in from another place that might not be observed if they are intoxicated. That is one issue that needs to be addressed. Adding the security personnel, which would secure that one person would be at the door at all times, while another would be within the premises, so that they don't need to leave the front door, can certainly decrease the chances of people entering the premises and being intoxicated. In addition, having that additional security within the premises can help identify people if they are intoxicated, in addition to the bartender that's at the premises. I believe I mentioned that they want to add the two-way radios for both the person at the front door to communicate with the person on the inside if there are any issues. Again, it seems to be a lot in a lot of neighborhoods that people leave one bar and go to another licensed premises. Having that person at the front door at all times will certainly, at least it's their hope, decrease the chances of people entering the premises intoxicated.
What is the occupancy of that building?
It's 40.
It's 40.
Its seating capacity is 40.
It's pretty small, 40 people. I find that it shouldn't be that hard to control. And when we say, people are in there, even if they come in intoxicated, should not happen. They should be responsible, and they should be able to be trained and see who has had too much. But I think the law reads, no matter how much you've had, if something happens, it's where you've had your last drink.
Certainly.
So I don't care how many they had elsewhere. If they went in there and were served, they're responsible because they served them that last drink. That's a law.
Certainly.
I think we all know that. And as far as the closing, I know Maggie and this board requested that last month, all letters went out to everyone clearly stating 1:30 was last call, everybody off the premises at 2 o'clock. And that went to every establishment in the city. So I think we were quite clear, and I think at our meeting also, we went over that so that everyone understood. And I find it hard to believe that these people come up now. We've had another establishment, and gee, I didn't know that. That's not an excuse. You're a license holder, and you have to know the rules and regulations of that license. So that really upsets me when people come in and say, well, I served at 1:40. Clearly, they have to know what time they can open and when they have to close. So that, to me, for someone to say, well, yeah, we're 1:40, but then we're slow getting the checks paid. Well, that's their problem again. 2 o'clock, everybody's out of that building. There's no leeway for different establishments. It's 2 o'clock.
When was that issued? You said last month?
Maggie, I think they went out last month, was it?
A couple of years.
To every establishment.
Well, the 205 noncompliance was February 15th. That might have been before that issue, or
Yes.
that came out.
I am saying that, but what I'm saying, that was just a reminder.
Sure.
But when they got their license, they knew what it was.
We
sent a reminder.
We were very clear at the time when we started addressing 2 a.m. closings on how we expected the timing of the establishments to go.
So it'll be 1:30 last call.
1:30 is last call.
And I believe the 140 was in March, 3/1. So they would have received the letter. March 8th, I'm sorry. So the letters went out. Everyone else received them. I would find it hard that one establishment didn't. And the other thing that bothers me again is tying up our police department.
Certainly.
That's a big concern for me. This is a big city. We have, I believe, 43 liquor establishments, and we just cannot police every one of them every night and tie up our police department. That's not what they're there for, to watch clubs that don't follow the rules and regulations. And again, we're sending them into bars, they don't know what they're going to see, what they're going to find. Here's this girl, in the ladies' room. A police officer walks in, you don't know what's going to happen. And I think it takes just a little responsibility for these things not to get out of control. Obviously, he stated himself that on other occasions they've asked to drive her home.
I think there was a miscommunication, unless, I'm not sure Mr. Santos has had anyone asked to drive her home before. I think it was,
Well, regardless,
Was it that one evening that you asked?
I believe it was just that one evening, but he could certainly clarify if there was miscommunication.
Excuse me 1 second. We had this at 9:30, but we're going to give it to you guys. We're going to have our meeting downstairs.
We shouldn't be too much
So
longer.
you don't have to rush.
All right, thank you, appreciate that. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt. Thanks.
But I just find everything that happened there was irresponsible. They knew the patron, and I don't know if this is her. I mean, why would the girl say she was 16? She goes to Revere High School. Very easy to check out. I mean, she goes to Revere High School, we would know she's 16 years old. They've dealt with her. That's a red flag. If there are little problems, why do you let her in again? Okay? And as far as your doorman, he's letting them in. I mean, obviously, they're saying they're not serving them. They had one drink, so then you're letting them in that condition. And as a license holder, you know what happens when people drink like that and you allow them. It's not what you want to deal with.
Certainly. And what they hope is their plan of action to add the security personnel will help reduce these issues or hopefully eliminate it.
But, and then I find it, amazing. And 3 incidents were outside, but the rest were inside. We haven't had, to my knowledge, any other calls at the bars on the Ave. And I think they're right next door to another one. I mean, I would say maybe, the normal call, things happen outside. But we're not seeing that. And that's the problem with the 2 o'clock licenses. That's why we addressed every single one of them individually by how they run their businesses.
Certainly.
And I'm extremely disappointed. And I can tell you, had I seen all these incidences, they would have been called in earlier. With the police department, they go out on calls and they log the calls, which is great. But this board does not get every single call to just go down and a disturbance, and they can take care of that. That is a police matter, and I understand that. But when an incident like this happens, now we get everything. We get the history. And just these calls of tying up the police department, going down there, it's inexcusable as far as I'm concerned. And I see the pattern because these little incidents were happening and they weren't being called in. They felt they could do what they want. That's my opinion. Because staying open after 2 o'clock, cashing out checks, those should have been paid long before. And I don't know, it's a restaurant. What time does the restaurant close? You're going more towards a restaurant, but are you serving food at 1:30, 1:45 in the morning?
It's my understanding the kitchen closes 12
o'clock.
Well, I find it a little irresponsible what's taken place in the last month.
John? Anything you want to add?
I said my piece.
Yeah, no, I think looking at the employee, I mean, I guess you could make a case that she was a disgruntled employee, and there is some question regarding the identification card. But in my mind, she was heavily intoxicated. It appears that has happened on more than one occasion. I think that the fact that there's 6 responses that were a direct as a result of operations at the restaurant where they had to respond to the restaurant versus the 3 that are out in the street. And then the fact that you've had the Revere PD respond multiple times, and then the serving past 2 a.m. I think we were very clear on what the rules of the road were in terms of timing and when we expected restaurants to be closed, or when music was to be turned off, and when patrons had to be out of the restaurant. Having said all that, I think that I would make a motion to roll back the hours to 1 a.m. for 90 days. That would be effective immediately. That would be up until June 10th. I would hope that they could demonstrate in that period that they can implement the new procedures and demonstrate that they work. I'd like to have you come back at that next meeting. They can certainly open at 10. Our next meeting will probably be June, somewhere in the third week in June. What was that, the 17th, around the 17th, somewhere around there? So what I would suggest is that at that meeting, when we determine what the date is, that you would come back and we would have the Revere Police Department respond and acknowledge whether there's been any other incidents or recalls to the establishment. And if there hasn't, then we just go on, and you can go back to 2 a.m. until and hopefully there wouldn't be any more incidents after that.
I know that motion's on the table, but they currently do not have their license. I guess one of the hearing is, getting that license back today?
I'm sorry?
They currently don't have their license from
yes.
the commission.
So it would be effective today that they could go back to 1 a.m. Okay. And for a 90-day period. So that would be June 10th. And then they can go to 2 a.m. on June 10th. And then whenever our next meeting is,
10th,
I'm saying I just counted 90 days.
okay.
We'll check my math, but I'm fairly certain that the 10th is 90 days. And at the end of the 90 days, they could go back to 2 a.m. and we'll have the police department come up and just confirm that there hasn't been any issues at the establishment, and you can just go on to 2 a.m.
Okay. Would they be present as well?
They can be, absolutely.
Sure.
What are the stipulations on the music?
So if it's DJ, and I also want to put it up to opponents and proponents, but so if it was live music, I don't think you guys do any live music, do you?
DJ.
I'm sorry?
DJ.
DJ. So 1:30, the music's got to be off. Last call is at 1:30, and closing
Last
is.
call was at 12:30. You just rolled back to 1.
Sorry, 12:30 during the rollback, and then.
Music is 12.
Yeah, 12. That's right. You're right. So music's off by 12. Last call's 12:30. Closing at 2 o'clock. 1 o'clock. And when you go back to 2 a.m., or should if you go back to 2 a.m., then it would be 1:30 music off, 1:30 last call, 2 o'clock. Everybody's got to be out of the establishment. Is that acceptable?
Is that in the form of a motion?
Well, it is, but I want to, it is in a form of motion, but first I want to, is there any proponents that want to speak on behalf of the establishment? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close that side. Are there any opponents that want to speak on behalf of the establishment? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close that part. So my motion is to, what's that? My motion is to roll back the hours to 1 a.m. for 90 days from today to June 10th. Is there a second on that motion?
I would just like to, I have something I'd like to say. I think our meeting is on the 17th. I personally think that they should be closed till the next meeting. I mean, they should have the rollback till the next meeting so that they can come up and we can go over everything. I will stay with the 10th if that's how my commission wants to vote, but I personally would have said 6 months rollback to 1 o'clock because of the multiple violations at the same establishment and the pattern that it seems to have just got away with one and everything escalated to get to this point. That's all I have to say.
I'm okay with the 3 months. think we've really made it clear where we have to go from here. I think 3 months is plenty of time to get that in place. I do want to see something in writing from a security perspective, a process, not just we added 1 or 2 security guys. Okay, fine. But something in the event of, how things are escalated, how do we contact, something. It doesn't have to be a thesis. It has to be 1-2 pager that we can see prior to that meeting, prior to the 10th, that we can look at and say, okay, we're good to go, we feel comfortable. The proof will be in the pudding. At least you have something on paper. I know you're going to add security, I understand, but one thing, talk is talk. We need to see something on paper, so if we ever have to come back and say, you said this was your process, you didn't follow it, then we come back and more recommendation. So, given that, I will second the motion that, did you make a motion yet?
No, so what I'll do is, I think that's a great idea. I think if you could put that in writing and memorialize that for us, that would be great. So I'd like to add that to the motion. I respect Commissioner Glanasso's opinion on that. However, I think I'll stand with my motion at a 90-day rollback of 1 a.m. Music off at 12:30. 12? No, that's only if it's live music.
No, DJ
Right?
is
Just
12.
DJ.
Last call is 12:30.
It is?
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought it was live music at.
Right. Okay, sorry.
That's what I thought.
Stand corrected.
Yeah. So music's off 12:30. Last call is at 12:30. Everybody out of the establishment at 1 a.m. And you'll memorialize those changes in the operations to the commission.
And would that be at the June 17th hearing? You'd like to see that in writing?
No, we'd like to see that as soon as possible. Yeah.
You can just send it to Maggie and she'll get it to us.
Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
I would like to be recorded as being opposed.
It's been passed 2-1.
Thank you.
Thank you.